guys, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a book of the week on China Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan. And if you guys don't know how this goes, essentially this is me just kind of talking about it in the middle of the book as I'm reading it, my thoughts so far, and kind of whether or not I see some changes from the first book to the second book and what I like and don't like about it as I'm reading along. So let's get into it. Also, since this is a sequel, there are going to be spoilers as I read along. If you guys don't like that, probably should click away, but for the most part, most of these books of the weeks that I do are based off of sequels, so they do have some spoilers in there because, like I said, it's in the sequel, and doing reviews on it kind of doesn't work out very well, so yeah. So if you guys don't know, China Rich Girlfriend is the sequel to Crazy Rich Asians, which follows Rachel Chu as she travels with her boyfriend Nick Young to Singapore for a wedding. There she finds out that Nick Young is actually one of the richest bachelors of Asia of all time, and his family does not like her for the fact that she is not as rich as them, and they believe she's some kind of gold digger. Now this one takes place, I believe, 2 years after the events of Crazy Rich Asians, where we see that Nick and Rachel are enjoying their lives, being engaged and preparing for their upcoming wedding, whereas Nick has now been estranged from his mother and his grandmother and possibly his entire inheritance because he chose Rachel. As well as we also see the birth of some other situations that were happening. We see more of Astrid's situation with her husband Michael. We see a new character come along, Kitty, who was a minor character in the first book, become a larger character in this book, as well as the fact that now we might also find out about Rachel's family on her father's side, which from the first book we found out that her father was not actually her father, but she was born from someone else. So as for my thoughts so far on this book, I'm enjoying it. However, I did not know there was a 2-year gap. Like I said, it's been a minute since I read the first book. I think I read it back in like September or something. So it's been a while. So I completely forgot that it had been a 2-year gap since this book, even though it does say a timestamp. Like I'm bad with those. So I did not know that there was a 2-year gap. So I felt like I was playing a rather large bit of catch up until someone had mentioned it had been 2 years since Nikki hadn't come back to their to the New Year's Eve festival, which to me made no sense because I feel like it would make more sense for them to be upset or upset her if it had been a year after the events and not 2 years after, because by then you're like, okay, he didn't come to this one, why would he come to the next one kind of situation. So like I said, was not sure on that. And then on top of that, I felt like I was playing catch up and figuring out like all these situations, because now Kitty is married to Bernard. She got a breast reduction. She's dressing more elite. She's buying these really crazy expensive things, and I didn't understand what was going on. And it wasn't until someone had mentioned it was 2 years later, I looked it up on Wikipedia to see it had said 2 years after Crazy Rich Asians, where I was very confused and finding out, like thinking that, hey, is there like a novella situation that I missed? Is this not actually the sequel? What's going on? And it was a confusing moment for me that I did not enjoy particularly, and I thought that there should have been a better way of explaining what had happened, because I felt like this time, like I am about almost 200 pages in, and I'm like, I think it took like a good 100 pages or so for me to fully play catch up and see what was going on, and I was not a fan of that. I think there could have been a better way of explaining, hey, it's been 2 years, and then letting me progressively catch up with everything, rather than throwing all this information in my face and expecting me to kind of sit there and go, okay, so how long has it been? Because I was expecting it to be like right off the bat. I'm still not a fan of the footnotes, not gonna lie. Like, they weren't so bad in the beginning, but every time we see more of like the elderly Chinese or the elderly people come and talk in their slang, it was like every other page there would be a footnote and a footnote. And I feel like there still could have been a better way to explain what these things meant instead of putting a footnote in there, because it was just like, I felt like it was a really weird way for the author to come off as kind of pretentious, because he does input some of his own thoughts in there, and it's just like, why? Like, I get it's supposed to be satire, but it still felt like it was unnecessary. I don't like having to look down a page and see like the definition or like historical accuracies of a book, and then you say, I also still hate you, teacher, blah 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 blah, or like, thanks mom. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it's necessary. There are other ways without disrupting the flow of the story in my eyes. And then in the beginning, it was really good about like separating the thoughts as whoever jumps from who, like jumping from whose head. But now that we're closer in the middle, I can see some regression back to the first book, where we would be in Nick's head one minute and then Carlton's head the next, and then Rachel's, without really distinguishing who is who. And it's just really jarring because I feel like I'm getting settled in someone's mind and getting comfortable in there. And then all of a sudden, we see that it switched suddenly to someone else's head. It's like we'll go from Nick to Araminta, and then I never saw the distinction in there. It was a very quick flow, or quick switch, and then I'm still in Nick's head trying to see things from Araminta's point of view until my mind switches to Araminta, or realizes I am in Araminta's mind. But by the time that happens, I am now in Rachel's mind. And by the time that happens, I'm back in Eleanor's mind. And it's just a lot that's going on that I think could have benefited from like a couple of paragraph breaks. Not gonna lie. Or just more consistency in remaining in someone's head. I also like the fact that we are seeing more of Rachel's side, but I can't bring myself to ever really enjoy Eleanor. I think she is a great character in the movie. We see more progression there, but in the book she's like one step back and two steps back. One step back and then another 2 steps back with Rachel. She says that she's okay with like Rachel now because her father is like this huge bigwig political guy who's made a lot of money, and they're beyond rich. They're apparently not even crazy rich, they are China rich. And there is a very clear line, which I still don't understand exactly. And now that she's okay with marrying her because then like he won't lose out on this fortune, and it's just a lot. And then all of a sudden she turned around and was like, I don't know if I like Rachel because there's a lot of scandal going on with this situation. And it's like, can you make up your mind? I just get whiplash with you. Like, I don't like Rachel's father's new wife. I think she's really shady. She seems really fake. And like, she's like, I don't want to meet your new child. Do you know how much of a scandal this will cause? And it's like, but what's more scandalous here? Crazy rich Asian? Your husband not acknowledging the fact that he has an illegitimate child, and then that being found out via news and then causing more of a scandal? Or him finding out that this is a long lost daughter and welcoming her into your home and letting it go from there? Like, your money's not going to be affected by this. His political agenda won't be affected. So literally, just sit down, take a Xanax maybe, and then like come back to the situation with fresh eyes, and don't go running off into Hong Kong just to spend more money because you don't want to be there. And don't bring your son into the situation like your son is having it. It's a mess. Aside from the overall like footnotes and the character switching that will probably continue into the third book, I am enjoying the book. I think it's a little easier to read through than the first book, because the first book was a lot of like, here's a lot of family names that you're gonna have to know, and here's a family tree you can reference. But I'm just sitting here like, so you're telling me this guy is a first cousin twice removed, but he dated this guy who happens to be his cousin, but everyone wants them to be together because they're not actually related anymore, because there's such a they're so far down the line that they're no longer related. But they're still related because everyone keeps referring to them as cousins. Kind of situation. This one is a lot easier to get into. It's a lot faster paced. More things are happening and I'm enjoying it. I just wish the footnotes weren't a thing. Like, I can get past the random switches in characters' heads. I just have to pay attention to names and seeing like whether or not like their view on something switches randomly. But the footnotes I can't get over. It's like not even like one little footnote where it's like a little asterisk. It'll be like a footnote, then a plus sign, then a minus sign. And it's like, why? Like, I get it, you're trying to sound like cute and funny and like put your thoughts into it, but there has got to be a better way for you to tell me about some slang, some really shitty derogatory term or some historical aspect or some cultural aspect without having to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, then go back to where I was, read for a little bit, see that there's another footnote, scroll all the way back down to make sense of it, and then come back up. Like really, it's a lot for like a page. And then for you to sit there and go like, read the thing and be like, okay, and then have like the author add a comment like, I still hate you, Mrs. something, or thanks mom, or blah 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 blah. And it's like, why? I don't feel like it's necessary, honestly. It's like, I feel like I'm reading some kind of historical text when I see footnotes or some big essay, and I just don't enjoy it. Maybe it's just a personal thing, but I feel like there had to have been a better way to like integrate like definitions and like historical accuracies in the book without having like insert like a paragraph of like footnotes or having so many footnotes within one page. But that is it for my current thoughts on China Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan. If you guys have had the similar thoughts, please let me know, because I feel like I'm going crazy with these footnotes. My head is just not going well with it. But if you guys like my videos, please hit like. I do try to do these kind of books of the weeks once a month. Maybe twice depending if I have time, but until then I'll talk to you guys everywhere else. My social medias will be down below, and I do upload twice a week. So until my next upload, I'll talk to you guys then. Bye!